What if the next big shift in the modeling industry isn't about the latest fashion trend, but about who's literally creating the faces we see, digitally? Generative AI is already transforming so many industries, it's incredible. But the material we've been diving into suggests it could reshape something as, well, unexpected as the world of modeling, and potentially with a really surprising gendered component. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into AI and the future of modeling, a gendered shift. We've pulled some fascinating excerpts that explore, let's say, speculative premise that men using generative AI could actually come to dominate the modeling industry. So our mission here is to unpack the underlying technological, economic, and cultural factors driving this potential shift. We want to explore just how far it might go. And importantly, consider the profound implications for women's livelihoods, perceptions of beauty, and maybe even broader societal expectations. We'll be presenting the ideas from the sources impartially. Okay, just helping you understand the arguments and implications without us taking any sides, just conveying the information as it's presented. So if we're looking at this potential future, it really begs the question of how it even begins. What are the foundational elements driving this change? Our sources lay out some pretty compelling reasons why this speculative shift could happen. And it seems to all start with who has the keys to the kingdom when it comes to these new creative tools, generative AI tools like DLE, Stable Diffusion, Mid-Journey. They aren't just plug and play, are they? They require a degree of technical know-how, especially in crafting, like precise prompts, understanding model parameters, and often even some post-processing to get the desired result. Now, historically, men have been highly represented in tech-related fields, right? Including AI development and digital art. So this existing expertise could give them an early advantage in mastering these tools for creating hyper-realistic or idealized virtual models. And this ability, of course, allows for endless variations, tailored visuals, all without needing physical photo shoots, which makes AI-generated imagery a remarkably cost-effective and flexible alternative.
It's more than just technical skill, isn't it? What's really striking here is how that pre-existing landscape of tech expertise might directly translate into control over a completely new creative frontier. We've seen this before in tech revolutions, haven't we? Where the early builders often kind of set the tone for what comes next. So could this technical head start solidify a long-term gender imbalance, or is it perhaps just a temporary phase before these tools become, universally accessible and more intuitive? That's a key question.
It's a crucial point because it's not just about who can do it, but who can do it cheaper and faster. When you look at traditional modeling, wow, it involves significant costs. You've got models, photographers, makeup artists, studio rentals, logistics. It really adds up. But generative AI, it can produce incredibly high-quality images at like a fraction of that cost. And because AI allows for such rapid production of diverse model images, tailored to specific demographics, styles, campaigns, it heavily favors those who can efficiently leverage this technology. That sounds like a powerful market force. It's hard to ignore, right?
It absolutely is. And this leads to a critical question. In this, rapidly evolving digital economy, will efficiency and cost control become such dominant drivers? Will they effectively override traditional creative and employment models? It's potentially a shift from valuing that unique human performance to prioritizing speed and economic output.
Right. And here's where it gets really fascinating, I think. It's not just the tech itself, it's the communities built around the tech and how that might influence what ideal even looks like. We're seeing that online communities dedicated to AI art and these generative tools, think about the big Discord servers, Reddit forums, even platforms like X, they often have predominantly male demographics.
That's true.
These spaces are where techniques get shared, innovations are discussed, new creative approaches are fostered. And crucially, generative AI can create these, hyper-flawless, hyper-idealized models that often align perfectly with commercial beauty standards. So if men are disproportionately controlling the creation of these images, it begs the question, could they inadvertently or maybe even explicitly shape the visual culture of modeling, influencing what brands and consumers perceive as desirable or beautiful?
Indeed. It's about how the tools are not just used, but how the culture around the tools develops. That's key. If one demographic is overrepresented in that creative space, their perspectives on what constitutes ideal or, desirable might become disproportionately reflected in the generated output. And that could potentially influence broader beauty standards down the line.
Okay, so if these drivers are truly in play, how quickly could this change? And how deeply will it actually penetrate the industry? Looking at the near term, say the next 5 to 10 years, it seems we're probably headed for more of a hybrid approach.
Mm-hmm.
AI-generated models are already being used today. I
Yeah,
think about virtual influencers like Loma Kelly. She has millions of followers.
right.
But traditional modeling will likely persist, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Especially for like high-end brands, live runway shows, or contexts where that human connection and authenticity are really paramount.
Mm.
We might see AI models dominating more in, say, low-budget campaigns, e-commerce, or purely digital spaces.
Yeah.
The research we've looked at suggests that by 2030, AI-generated imagery could account for a significant portion, maybe 30 to 50%, of visual content in e-commerce.
Wow.
And of course, technological advancements will just keep going, probably at a rapid pace. Improvements in AI realism, photorealistic textures, dynamic poses, maybe even video generation, making virtual models almost indistinguishable from real ones.
That paints a picture of a pretty substantial shift, but yeah, not a complete takeover in the near future. The integration will likely be incremental, sort of sector by sector, but the trend clearly points towards increased AI adoption in specific high-volume market segments. It does make you wonder, though, could that 30–50% prediction for e-commerce even be a bit conservative, given the crazy pace of AI development we're seeing right now?
That's a really good question because it leads to the long-term view, right?
Mm.
Which is, it's a pretty dramatic leap from a hybrid approach to what sounds like a potential complete overhaul. Because when we look out further, maybe 10 to 20 years, we could potentially see full disruption. If AI continues to advance like this, virtual models could largely replace human models in most commercial contexts, making physical photo shoots maybe a niche thing, or even a luxury endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
The sources even suggest that virtual influencers with truly dynamic personalities, maybe powered by sophisticated language models like, say, Grok, could completely dominate social media as standalone entities.
It's a profound thought, isn't it? This really underscores how quickly exponential technological growth can just transform entire industries, not just little parts of them. If the cost and the versatility of AI continue on their current trajectory, the economic pressure to switch to virtual models, it could become almost irresistible for a lot of businesses. The challenge then becomes, well, what happens to the human element, the people who built the industry in the first place?
Yeah, exactly. But it's certainly not a done deal, though. That's important to remember. There are potential brakes on this train. Our research acknowledges that cultural pushback could happen. Ethical concerns, like the misuse of deepfakes or maybe new regulations on AI-generated content, these could significantly slow down adoption. Yeah. And of course, human models may always retain unique value in contexts, emphasizing authenticity, diversity, or that relatability factor, things that are incredibly difficult for AI to truly replicate. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. If this shift happens, even partially, what does it mean for people, specifically women, who are currently, really at the heart of the modeling industry? And how might it fundamentally change what we even consider beautiful? The insights suggest women who rely on modeling as a career, well, they may face significantly reduced opportunities, with entry-level jobs potentially being hit the hardest, effectively pushing models toward much more niche or high-end markets. This could also mean a significant shift in the roles required. Women might need to adapt, maybe transition to new roles, perhaps as AI prompt engineers, digital content creators, or brand strategists who work alongside AI tools, which would obviously require acquiring new technical skills. But conversely, the same technology could offer new avenues. Women who master generative AI could potentially create their own virtual personas or brands, maybe bypassing traditional industry gatekeepers entirely.
It's a fascinating dichotomy, isn't it? That dual potential. On one hand, you've got the possibility of significant disruption and displacement for some, but on the other, perhaps truly new avenues for empowerment and creative control for others. The crucial question that arises then is, how can we ensure equitable access to these new skill sets so that the benefits of this technological leap aren't limited to, a select few?
Yeah, that's critical. And it's not just about job shifts, is it? It's about a potential shift in how society defines and values beauty itself. That has huge implications far beyond just the industry. The insights suggest a likely rise into what we might call hyper-idealized standards. AI-generated models can embody truly unattainable beauty ideals, perfect symmetry, flawless skin, exaggerated features. This could potentially exacerbate already unrealistic beauty standards. We know that's an issue. And if the data indicates men predominantly control the creation of these models, the resulting imagery might, for instance, reflect more male gaze-driven aesthetics, meaning visuals created from a predominantly male perspective, often prioritizing certain physical traits. This could lead to a devaluation of what we consider natural beauty. Human appearances might be seen as less polished or commercially viable, potentially pressuring women to digitally enhance their own images even more. And then there are concerns around diversity too, right? AI models, based on their training data or their creators, could potentially underrepresent diverse body types, ethnicities, or ages.
Yeah, what this highlights is the immense power of media representation in shaping societal norms and, importantly, self-perception. We could actually see a feedback loop where AI amplifies existing biases, creating a kind of digital echo chamber of beauty standards. The very algorithms designed to predict what we supposedly like might inadvertently narrow our perceptions of what's truly beautiful or aspirational.
So what does this all mean for us then? It sounds like a profound reevaluation of what beauty truly is and what it even means to be a model. We could see women facing increased pressure to emulate these AI-generated looks, maybe through cosmetic procedures or even just through filters and digital editing on social media, which is already happening. Society might, as a counterpoint, start to place an even greater value on authentic human beauty. Or maybe the line between real and virtual just completely blurs, redefining beauty as this customizable digital construct. Ultimately, the value of women in the modeling industry itself might shift away from purely physical appearance towards skills like branding, storytelling, or that crucial technical proficiency in working with these new tools. Okay, moving beyond the individual. What are the larger societal implications if this deep dive's premise really comes to fruition? When we look at gender dynamics, for instance, if men were to dominate AI-driven modeling, they could wield significant influence over visual culture, shaping how women are portrayed in media. This naturally raises concerns about the potential for perpetuating stereotypes or, frankly, objectification. However, it's also noted that women actively entering the AI space could potentially counterbalance this, and collaborative AI platforms could maybe democratize content creation over time.
This really raises an important question for society, doesn't it? Will this technology simply amplify existing power structures and biases? Or could it genuinely create new opportunities for broader participation? For the emergence of counter-narratives that challenge those traditional representations, the outcome isn't predetermined. It depends on choices we make.
That brings us right into some of the more thorny ethical issues of our digital age. The sources point to significant ethical and cultural questions, things like ownership and consent. For example, AI models based on real women's likenesses, maybe via training data, or even deepfake technology that raises serious issues about obtaining consent. And the potential for exploitation if those likenesses are used without permission.
Absolutely crucial point.
It also highlights the potential for cultural pushback. Movements advocating for real representation, like the body positivity movement, for example. They might resist a future dominated by AI-generated models and strive to preserve space for human models and diverse beauty standards.
It's an interesting tension, isn't it? The sheer technological capability to generate anything, clashing directly with societal values around authenticity, consent, and fairness. It's not just about what we can do, but what we should do, and how we negotiate those boundaries as a society.
And we absolutely can't forget the very real economic impact on people's livelihoods. The modeling industry employs so many women, right?
Right.
From the models themselves to makeup artists, stylists, agents.
Part of a whole ecosystem.
Widespread AI adoption could undeniably disrupt these jobs, disproportionately affecting women in those roles. However, as we discussed earlier, new opportunities in AI content creation could emerge, which, while requiring reskilling, could also provide new career paths. It's that double-edged sword again. Okay, so given all these potential impacts, both positive and negative, the research also offers some ways to maybe mitigate the negative outcomes, laying out some actionable strategies. One key area seems to be education and access, encouraging women to learn AI tools through accessible training programs to really balance gender representation in this space. Imagine, like, programs specifically designed to bring women into prompt engineering or AI art creation. Another is ethical AI development, pushing for regulations that ensure diverse, unbiased training data and transparency in AI model creation. To prevent the spread of harmful beauty standards, we're not just building tools, we're kind of building culture with them.
That's a great way to put it.
And finally, cultural advocacy,
Yeah.
promoting campaigns that actively value real human models and diverse representations to counteract any AI-driven homogenization of beauty.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these aren't just strategies for the modeling industry, are they? They're really blueprints for navigating technological disruption in a socially responsible way across many, many fields. The choices we make now about how we develop and apply AI, well, they'll have ripple effects far beyond what we can probably even imagine, defining not just an industry, but potentially aspects of our society itself.
So to recap, we've explored the potential for men using generative AI to reshape the modeling industry, driven by technical expertise, powerful economic incentives, and these evolving cultural dynamics. We've looked at the near-term and long-term impacts, the profound implications for women's careers and beauty standards, and these broader societal questions of ethics and representation. The extent of this shift, it seems, ultimately depends on how society navigates this really complex intersection of technology, gender, and culture. Consider how our collective choices, through things like education, regulation, and cultural advocacy, will ultimately determine whether the future of beauty is democratized and diverse, or if it becomes increasingly shaped by narrow, hyper-idealized digital constructs. What stands out to you as the most critical choice we face in all of this? Some real food for thought there.